The armored vehicle helps me to save the people in my community. That vehicle twice saved my life.
What we know is the old saying that has been true for over 70 years since Israel's establishment. If Israel's enemies would put down their arms, there would be peace. If Israel would put down our arms, there would be no more Israel. Israel wants peace.
Everywhere that we have asked for help, you are there. So thank you very much.
These people are praying for food, and when they get food and a pair of gloves, it's beyond what they could have even possibly dreamed of.
I'm believing that in this most perilous hour, the most difficult since 2014, that whether it's in the streets of Jerusalem or in the skies from Hamas and Gaza, or wherever it might be that the enemies of Israel might seek to inflict and to wound, to maim, I'm believing that God will use this fellowship to alleviate, to heal, to bind up the wounded, to feed, to clothe, to build more bomb shelters. Nobody should have to live like this.
Hi, I'm Scott Wilder. For more than 40 years, the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews has been on the ground in the Holy Land, partnering with people like you. Those who embrace the Bible's mandate to bless Israel and to bless the Jewish people. I'm glad you're here. We have 1 hour to show our tangible support for our brothers and sisters in Israel. What does that mean? It means you and me doing something. It means each of us doing something to be able to say, I'm a part of it. I'm making a difference. You know, for most of us, we remember where we were on September 11th, our 9/11. Where were you when? Or maybe the moon landing, for those of us who remember that, or John F. Kennedy's assassination, the explosion of the space shuttle. You remember where you were when? Well, for Israel, October the 7th, 2023 is, in so many ways, their 9/11. You've seen it. It continues to this day. You know, for those of us who don't see it all the time, we may say, oh, wow, that's really tough. Things are getting tough for the people of Israel. And those of us who know, and certainly those who live there, know, no, things have always been very tough for Jews in Israel. Well, the fellowship, as we call it, the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews, the fellowship delivers comfort and meals to the poor, to the elderly, places bomb shelters, which we'll talk about, in the most vulnerable areas. You've been hearing us talk about it all day. Maybe you already know you want to be a part of this today. I want to give you the phone number real quick. It's 800-253-8133. This is not something we have a month to do. We have exactly 2 days, today and tomorrow, to make this happen. 800-253-8133. We also have a way you can do this online. If you go to am630theword.com, click on the IFCJ banner at the top of the page, that red text bar at the top. That'll take you where you can get it all done so quickly. In fact, probably 60 seconds you get it done. And even $45, a gift of $45 to the fellowship right now, will help provide Jewish families with food, emergency aid, security, trauma care for children, medicine for the elderly, shelter for displaced families who have had to flee their homes, and much more. So I hope you'll stay with us, but more importantly, I hope you will right now ask the Lord what he would want to do through you today. You know, I think for so many of us, you maybe in your quiet time, you start your day with a prayer. Maybe you prayed even something like this today. Lord, show me today someone, how I can be you to someone. Put someone in my path today, Lord, and I'll do it. I want to be you to someone today. So many times we say to the Lord, Lord, what can I do for you? I could offer just a different way to say it. Maybe the intent is correct, but just do a half turn of the screwdriver to say, let's say it differently. Lord, what would you want to do through me today? Lord, it's your will, and I am your servant. And so when you prayed that this morning, this we believe can be that opportunity. Although the Lord is saying, here is an opportunity for you to show, as a Christian, to show love for our Jewish brothers and sisters, those who have been attacked so as they have been attacked, were attacked on October the 7th, 2023. You know, war inevitably leads to poverty, and poverty usually impacts the elderly and children the most. And this has all been made clear, of course, in the wake of the events of October 7th, 2023. You know, the deadliest day for Jews since the Holocaust. Infrastructure destroyed, grocery stores demolished, bombs and missiles destroying also so many roads. The basics of life, just the basics of life, are hard to get. In Israel, hundreds of thousands of children and families live in poverty. Needs are largely left unmet. You know why? Israel is focused on increasing defense spending to protect these same children and families from terrorism and war. We are called through Scripture in Isaiah 58:7 to share your food with the hungry and to provide the poor wanderer with shelter. When you see the naked, to clothe them. It's only with the help of generous people like you that the fellowship addresses the critical needs of children and families, providing them with a safe place to live, with food, medicine, and clothing. So I hope you'll call right now. Don't put it off another minute. Say, I want to be the first responder today. You know, when September 11th happened, we were, now many people already knew the phrase first responder, but so many of us did not. And so we all learned that word or those words 24 years ago. First responder. What does it mean to be a first responder? It means that because of your training, because of your background, because of your position, because of your, in this case, your spiritual gifts, perhaps, you are prepared, as few other are, to run toward the problem, to run to the war, to run to the roar. And so who would be a first responder today? Maybe you would say, I want to be a first responder. I have a great love in my heart for the people of Israel. I know I'm commanded in Genesis 12:3 to bless Israel. And those who bless Israel will be blessed. Those who bless God's people will be blessed. So as Christians, as we do this as Christians and share the love of Christ, I hope that you'll just say, I want to be a part of it in some way. It could be a monthly gift. It could be a one-time gift. It could be, we'll tell you several different ways that you can make a difference, but even a $45 gift to the fellowship right now will help provide Jewish families with food and all the other things that we mentioned before. The number again is 800-253-8133. 800-253-8133. Or you can click on the IFCJ banner, that red text bar at the top at am630theword.com. So in the next few minutes we're going to take you to another part of the world. It's a part where missiles rain down and the sounds of emergency warning sirens can be heard any time of the day or night. And amidst the turmoil and the uncertainty, it's the fellowship's mission that has become more critical than ever. The International Fellowship of Christians and Jews, bringing hope and relief to those who are caught in the crossfire. We're going to tell you about the need for mobile bomb shelters near playgrounds and school bus stops, and the fellowship's efforts to make this reality less frightening and a testament to the resilience, really, of the Jews who count on them to survive. We're going to introduce you to Keith Isaacson. He's a security officer near the border, and when the events of October 7th, 2023 called on him to protect his community like never before, he was able to save the lives of many because of a bulletproof, shrapnel-proof vehicle that he had been given by the fellowship only months before. It's an incredible story of miracles and of heroes. And we'll tell you about the Bibas family. You know the Bibas family? Yarden Bibas, his wife, and his two children. When all that happened on October the 7th, when that happened, Yarden, of course, lost his entire family. Remember those two little sweet redheaded kids? He was the lone survivor. And then when he was finally released after his captivity, he learned that his family, his wife and two young sons, had been murdered by the terrorists. When he met with Yael Eckstein, the president of the fellowship and CEO, he handed her something and said to her, take this with you and tell others to never forget. And we'll give you the chance just to stand, as we said before, with us in solidarity, to make your support real for those who are enduring truly unimaginable hardships and tragedy, and to take action that is beyond mere words. Together we can make a difference, ensuring that hope and resilience will continue to thrive in the darkest places, in the most devastating of times. So, would you join us now? Call 800-253-8133, 800-253-8133. Be one of a couple of people right now to say, I don't want to wait. I know God can do this without me, but I don't want him to. I don't want to miss the blessing. I want to be a part of it too. You can bless Israel today. Stand with the fellowship and stand with us today and stand for Israel. It's easy to do. It's the right thing to do. Go to am630theword.com, am630theword.com, or call the number 800-253-8133, 800-253-8133. We'd love to be able to thank you by first name and by city to show that the great state of Texas stands with Israel. You know, not everyone in this country does. I'm sure you've noticed that in the coverage of the news, how Israel's surrounded really on all sides by enemies. Our Jewish brothers and sisters need us now more than ever. And your generous donations help save lives, protect God's people. If we stand together, we can ensure that our commitment to peace and understanding remains in the face of terrible adversity. Would you join us right now? You also contribute to building bridges of love that cross borders and cross-cultural divides. When you feed hungry Jews, you show Christ's love to Holocaust survivors. You have a chance today to be Christ's hands and feet. Won't you join us right now? Call 800-253-8133. That's 800-253-8133. Or click on the IFCJ banner or that red bar at the top of the page, probably the quickest way to do it, that red text bar at the top of the page at am630theword.com. You know, it seems like we're always looking for ways to entertain our kids, our grandkids. I just became a grandfather in the last 50 days. I became a grandfather. Never been a granddad before. I have a little grandson now, and I look forward to finding ways to engage him and educate him, whether it's art camps or sports camps or writing camps or just spending time together fishing. At the neighborhood park, our children and grandchildren experience the joy of playing outside at the Science Museum. Their curiosity is sparked and their wonder is awakened about a world around them. The zoo shows them animals from all over the world, and they get to learn about places they may never get to visit. And for the most part, as we do these things together, as our children and grandchildren do these things, they are allowed to be carefree, unaware of even the very existence of war. But life is not like that for everyone. Imagine getting on a school bus, and one of the things on your mind as a child of 6 or 8 or 10 years old, is, if the missiles come down right now, where is the closest bomb shelter? That is actually the thought of a sweet little child as she gets on and off the school bus every day. Or a child playing in the park, little boy on a teeter-totter or climbing the monkey bars, while at every moment, at any moment, he has to be aware of the sound of the code red siren. Such a contrast to what so many of us take for granted. Such a reminder of how different life is for our Jewish brothers and sisters and children alike. You know, in my hometown, for the last several years, we have a contest, a yearly sort of art contest to find artsy, creative ways to cover the traffic signal boxes that you find at every major intersection. They're about 7 feet tall, 3 or 4 feet wide. They just sit there a few feet off the street, right behind the traffic light. Every year there's a theme. One year it's flowers. This year I think it's butterflies. There are multiple purposes here to brighten up something that might be a little unsightly in their natural state. They're gray. Not very pretty, but not terrible. You'd hardly even notice them, but the contest is an opportunity to showcase local artists, make the intersections with a little prettier than they frankly already are. Every year, 6 or 7 of the selections are made, and then they're transferred to vinyl, and they're applied to these boxes, and then it's kind of like these little art installations all over the town. And honestly, I'd sort of forgotten about them until I was on a walk recently, walked by them, and I was struck by the parallels between these utility boxes and the mobile bomb shelters that are all too common in Israel. I mean, you may have read even in some areas in Israel, you can't walk more than 2 minutes without seeing one of those. Can you imagine that? It's not like any reality that we have ever known. You know, it struck me how the fellowship often places these mobile bomb shelters near parks and playgrounds, and how they arrange for some of these bomb shelters to be painted with murals to make them warmer, more inviting to children, maybe not so scary as they pass by them on a daily basis. These bomb shelters are as much a part of life in Israel as the park or the playground or the bus stop that they sit near is to us. And I'm struck by the fact that all they ask of us is help. Help to make it safer for their children, and maybe just a little less scary. Would you join us in doing this today? Your $45 gift to the fellowship right now will provide Jewish families with food and emergency aid, security, trauma care for children, medicine for the elderly, shelter for displaced families who have fled their homes, and much more. And if you wanted to provide a mobile bomb shelter, a complete mobile bomb shelter, a $15,000 one-time gift can do that. You know, whenever I've said that on the radio, I've thought nobody could do this, but people do. Perhaps you would like to participate in this way, or your business would like to stand for Israel. This is our mandate. Those of us who love the Lord, who are Christians, it's our mandate to stand with Israel and to take seriously God's direction, instruction, command in Genesis 12:3 to stand with Israel. Would you join us today? Call right now, 800-253-8133. That's 800-253-8133. Or you can click on the IFCJ red banner at the top of the page at am630theword.com. Let me introduce you to Keith Isaacson. Keith Isaacson is a South African immigrant to Israel and the chief security officer of the Eshkol Regional Council. Thousands of people in his region count on him in his role as security officer. And on that day, that fateful day, October 7, 2023, the warnings went out that Israel was under attack by Hamas. Keith headed to his assignment thinking the danger was not yet in his district, but along the way, something told him, maybe you could call it a prompting, stop and switch vehicles. So he picked up the bulletproof, shrapnel-proof truck that had been given to him by the fellowship just months before. It turns out that was a life-saving choice, because as he began to approach his destination, it was apparent that not only was Israel under attack on that day, but the terrorists were already in his region. As Keith was driving, he was shocked when he saw 2 pickup trucks full of terrorists, heavily armed with RPGs, anti-tank missiles, and lots of guns. They were driving toward Keith. As they passed Keith's truck in the opposite direction, the terrorists fired dozens of bullets, dozens of rounds his way. This bulletproof truck that the fellowship provided, it is not just armored and it's not just fortified with bulletproof glass. Even the tires on this truck are bulletproof. I know. I didn't either. I didn't know that was impossible. When hit with bullets, these tires don't deflate for at least 18 hours. Isn't that something? Because Keith survived the attack, he was then able to alert everyone in his town and the security establishment that Israel was under attack these very few minutes that they had to prepare before terrorists reached their city, saved countless lives. By sheer miracle, Keith survived. Keith Isaacson survived that day because of the grace of God, the great work of the fellowship, and the generosity of people just like you. And because Keith's life was saved, many more lives were also saved that day. Wouldn't you love to be a part of something like this? A gift as small as $45 or less or more, it doesn't matter, to the fellowship right now will help provide Jewish families with food, emergency aid, security, trauma care for children, medicine for the elderly, shelter for families who have fled their homes, and so much more. And a reminder that if you are so led, and someone listening right now may be, a long time ago, I just decided I'm not going to worry about, just because I couldn't possibly give, doesn't mean someone else couldn't. And isn't that just like the devil? Wouldn't the devil love to just say, nobody's going to do that. Don't do that. You don't want to do that. No, the devil would love to get in my head and get in your head. But a long time ago, I just decided, I'm just going to say it. And God will decide who's supposed to hear it. So maybe that's you. Maybe it's your business. Maybe it's your family legacy. Maybe it's more. And you say, I want to be a part of this today. I'm going to stand for Israel and stand with Israel in a tangible way. Not just going to change my profile pic on my social media. I'm not just going to talk about it. You know, the story, one of my favorite stories in the Bible is the story of the Good Samaritan. And Jesus, of course, tells that story that a man had fallen to robbers. And the reason he does is answers the question, who is my neighbor? That was the question posed by the lawyer who was trying to trick Jesus at that time. He said, watch this, to his lawyer buddies, and said, what must I do to enter the kingdom? And he said, love the Lord your God, et cetera, and love your neighbor as yourself. And he said, but who is my neighbor? And Jesus said, a man fell to robbers. And he tells a story we all now know as the story of the Good Samaritan. You know, the Good Samaritan is remembered for what he did, not for how he felt, not for what he thought, not for how outraged he was, not for how he shook his fist or cursed the darkness, none of that. He's remembered for what he did. And the other ones, the really upstanding, religious types, those men, they're remembered for what they didn't do, aren't they? So today, you have an opportunity to join us making a huge difference. At the end of that story, Jesus says, go and do likewise. Go and do. The doing, our works, the doing is the proof that the feeling is real. So would you join us today in the doing? The Bible tells us in Ephesians 2:10, for we are God's handiwork, created in Christ Jesus to do good works, which God prepared in advance for us to do. You have a chance today to stand with Israel, to stand for Israel and with Israel. And we don't give out of guilt, we give out of gratitude. God has blessed us not just because he loves us. I think he blessed us because he trusts us to be him to them today. That the blessings are not really intended so much to flow to us as they are intended to flow through us. So we get to be. It's not a chore. It's not a bummer. It's not a drag. It is an opportunity. It's a blessing to be used by God for the blessings that flow to us to simply flow on through us, and in this case to his people, to stand with Israel today. It's a mandate from Scripture. For those of us who take it seriously, we have a chance to do that together today, to join hearts and hands today and give $5, $10. A monthly gift is fine, a one-time gift. We picked 45 because that's a really good number. We know exactly what that can do in that it provides Jewish families, help provide Jewish families with food, emergency aid, security, all the things we mentioned before. And then $15,000 can provide a complete bomb shelter, that mobile bomb shelter that has saved so many. We have more to tell you about the opportunity you have before you right now, but we'll take a break here in a second. You will hopefully get on the phone right now and say, I want to be a part of it today. I want to be a part of it right now. We're going to tell you about the Bebas family in a couple of minutes. This is that sweet family with the two wonderfully red-headed children, a 4-year-old boy and a 9-month-old boy. Tragedy, but out of it, something wonderful rises today. Would you be a part of it? Just join us now. Here's the number one more time before our break. You call this number, say, I want to be a part of it today. 800-253-8133. 800-253-8133. Or you simply click on that red bar at the top of the web page when you go to am630theword.com. My name is Scott Wilder. We'll be back in a few minutes. Hello, I'm Scott Wilder. Glad you're here. We are standing for Israel together today, and it's not the same if we don't do that alongside you. The way to do it is to pick up the phone and call 800-253-8133. This is for our friends at the Fellowship, the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews. You can do it by phone, again at 800-253-8133, 800-253-8133, or click on that red bar at the top of the page, the IFCJ banner, when you go to am630theword.com. It's am630theword.com. Let me reflect a little bit on something we talked about before. It's easy when you tell, the story of children and bomb shelters. When you know that when the code red siren goes off, I don't know what it's like. I'm not always here. Happy to be here now, but I don't recall what it's like, whether it happens in every city or in every state. But it's the first Wednesday of the month, I think, at exactly noon. We have a test of the warning sirens, and almost every time it comes up, I go, wait, what is that? What is that? It's a test. It's just a test. It's not a big deal. In fact, I always look when I hear that. I look at my watch and think, it's noon. Of course, it's a test. Can you imagine being a part of the world where almost just like the sword of Damocles is hanging over your head? To know no matter where you are, if something happens, you have 15 seconds to get to a bomb shelter. Think about that for a second. You go to the grocery store. You're on the aisle looking for peanut butter, looking for paper towels, whatever, the laundry detergent, looking for, Comet cleanser or something, some bar soap for the kids or the grandkids, or maybe a stuffed animal or a ball for a kid to play with. And at any moment, you'd have to say 15 seconds, I have to get out of here and I have to get to a bomb shelter. Imagine what that must be like to live like that. And yet that is the reality of people that are really our brothers and sisters. These are God's people, and we are mandated to love them, and not just in word, but in deed. So, when you talk about a bomb shelter, when you talk about, I may have to get pretty quickly to a bomb shelter, and think, well, hold on a second. Can we just think for a second about what that's like and how tremendously foreign that is to our existence? Our kids, our grandkids never have to worry about that. But your little boys and girls, got a 6-year-old girl getting on a school bus, and she's been told, okay, if you hear the siren, you got to run as fast as you can to that bomb shelter. I'm so thankful that we don't have to deal with that. But you know what? That is all the more then should we come alongside and say we're going to be a part of something good. We're going to provide something good, not out of guilt, but out of gratitude. Lord, thank you that my kids and my grandkids, Lord willing, will never have to deal with that, but don't certainly have to deal with that right now. And yet it's a daily occurrence. It is on the mind every second for those who are living in Israel. We're going to chat with the Bebas family in a second, but I don't want you to wait another minute. I don't want you to miss the blessing. I really don't. I want you to be a part of it today and stand with Israel. Help us encourage others to stand with Israel. You know, you are an encourager of other people. When you stand with Israel, it's not just about what you do. It's not about money. It's not about what you do. It's about so much more than that. It's about the impact you have on others. They hear that you participate, and then they want to participate. Or maybe you tell a friend, hey, you know what? The whole world is against Israel. And we know, look, those of us who've read the book, we know how the story ends, right? We know. But we also know that we have a role to play in standing for Israel. And I hope that you'll join us in doing it today. am630theword.com is the place to go. Click on that red text bar at the top of the page, am630theword.com, or call this number 800-253-8133, 800-253-8133. And you can make a difference, $45, $50, $100, $1,000. Monthly gift, one-time gift, it doesn't matter. You want to provide that bomb shelter, that complete mobile bomb shelter, a $15,000 one-time gift can do that. There may be a couple of businesses right now who would say, you know, I can't do all that, but I could do a third of that. I could do $5,000. Yeah, I'll do that. It's all tax deductible. Absolutely. I want to do that. I want to stand for Israel. I want to make a difference. I'm not just going to be a friend in the ways that are common. I'm not just going to change my profile pic and put that little sticker there in the lower right-hand thing of my picture, of my profile picture. I want to do more than that. I want to do something substantive, and you can do that. You can do both those things. It's good to raise awareness, but at some point it becomes not activism, but sort of slacktivism, you know? Sort of like, well, not really doing anything, but I'm kind of making a big deal out of it. I'm hopping on board the moving train. Well, we want you to do more than that. We know that you want to do more than that. We know you want to be a part of making a real difference, so I hope you will. And you don't have to give $15,000, $100, $5, $10. It doesn't matter. I don't believe it's about how much. I believe it's how many. How many people will simply hold their hands up and say, I'm going to stand for Israel today. I stand for Israel today. So I hope you'll join us in doing that. Again, easy, toll-free number, 800-253-8133, 800-253-8133, or click on the IFCJ banner at am630theword.com. The Bibas family, Yarden Bibas, his wife Sherry, and sons Ariel and Kafir. Ariel, 4 years old, Kafir, 9 months old. On the morning of the attack, that is the attack, October 7th, 2023, 34-year-old Yarden Bibas texted his sister to update her on the fighting that was going on near where they lived. Yarden and his wife and their two young sons, Ariel and Kafir, again 4 months old and 9 months old, were in the family's safe room. And let me pause right there for a second and say, could you let that soak in for a second? The family was in their safe room. Their homes may not have this, they may not have that, but you know what they have? A safe room. It was a safe room because they're under attack all the time, simply because of who they are. So they were in their family's safe room. It was in that text to his sister at about 6:30 in the morning that Yarden, that's the father, the husband, mentioned rocket fire and said that the militants had entered the kibbutz. He said how hard it was, you can imagine this, how hard it was to keep his young children quiet so they could hide and would not be found. The terrorists drilled open his door and entered his home. About 9:45 that morning, Yarden Bibas texted, "They're in." Just after he texted his family, "I love you." Then, according to reports, Yarden left the safe room in an effort to distract the terrorists and to save his wife and children. He was captured separately from the rest of his family. And, of course, you know the story by now. His wife and two young children died at the hands of Hamas. We were recently with Yael Eckstein, the president and CEO of the Fellowship, International Fellowship of Christians and Jews. And she was holding something in her hand. You know what it was? It was the only toy that little 9-month-old ever held and held all the time. It was his little elephant, his pink elephant. In all the pictures, he's holding his favorite elephant. And the fellowship has been there for the Bibas family, with the Bibas family, and all the families of hostages, supporting them from day one and telling them Christians and Jews in America love you. Around the world stand with you. And so she told us before she left Israel to come to where we were, she was given that little boy's pink elephant. And she holds it out and says, this is what he was holding for the first 9 months of his life until the Hamas terrorists kidnapped him and killed him. And his family said, bring it to America. Make sure they never forget. We don't want you to forget. We want you to be a part of this today, making a difference and standing for Israel, and it's easy to do. 800-253-8133. 800-253-8133. Or click on the IFCJ banner at am630theword.com. It's am630theword.com. Any amount's going to make a difference, so we hope you'll be a part of it today. And back to the story of the pink elephant, I got to tell you, when you hold the toy of a child who was kidnapped and murdered by terrorists, the unimaginable becomes very real, very quickly. You know, I think all of us have saved some of the toys from our young children, some that they've had when they were young. When you hear Yael Eckstein talk about the pink elemental boy, and when I think of the pain his father, who's left now, to somehow rebuild his life, it's almost overwhelming to remember that he's just one man, and his story represents the pain and loss of so many and the needs they have, not just for tangible things, food, medicine, clothes, but for comfort and fellowship, someone to hear their stories and help them dry their tears. The fellowship is there for all of this and much, much more. But they can't do it alone. They can't do it without the help of people just like you. As we're asking you right now, we have only about 10 minutes left together. The phone number is 800-253-8133. 800-253-8133. Or go online and click on that red bar at the top of the page at am630theword.com. am630theword.com. For every story of lives that have been tragically taken by war, by hardship, there's also stories in the ripple effect. There are stories of those that are left behind, the survivors, who suffer and suffer and suffer the personal, the painful loss of those that they love. The fellowship has been there for them for decades, with the same kind of love and support and care that they have given to Ella. Ella is 74 years old. She wears a necklace. The necklace Ella wears holds a photograph of two of her children. The children killed by terrorists on October 7th, 2023. They were visiting Ella that day. It was supposed to be a day for her to be surrounded by her family, a bit of a celebration. But instead, on that day, that dark day, sirens sounded, and Ella and her family tried to get to safety. It mentioned you have 15 seconds to get to a shelter. Ella and her family tried to get to safety, but on the way to the shelter, two of her children, the two in the photo, were shot and killed before they made it to the shelter. Ella made it to the shelter, but obviously was already broken with grief. Ella, whose grief is unimaginable. They go to bring food or medicine or blankets in the winter, or to help with repairs around the house, practical things. But they bring so much more than that. They bring a tender heart, listening ear, comfort that comes from caring beyond completing a task. They'll spend time even sitting in silence if that's what's needed most. It's what friends do. When you partner with the fellowship, you make this possible. Your $45 gift to the fellowship right now will help provide Jewish families with food, emergency aid, security, trauma care for children. It can provide medicine for the elderly, shelter for displaced families like those we've mentioned who've had to flee their homes, and much, much more. And those bomb shelters, those mobile bomb shelters, a complete mobile bomb shelter can be purchased for a $15,000 one-time gift. You know, talking to E.L. Eckstein about this, she said, we were stunned to hear that there were 130 school bus stops where kids have to gather within 15 seconds. You know what the fellowship did? The fellowship placed all 130 mobile bomb shelters at those sites. Also at playgrounds. I mean, it was said before, imagine, if you will, what that would be like to know at any moment in your day, at any moment in your night, at any moment when you go to your house of worship, at any moment when you're sitting at a movie, at any moment when you're grocery shopping or pushing your kids on a swing at the park. You have to know you are 15 seconds away from death if you don't find a bomb shelter. The fellowship provides those bomb shelters with the help of people like you. So if you want to join us, we're excited about that. We believe that it's not enough just to curse the darkness. You have to be the light. You know, the great quote from Sir Edmund Burke, the only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good people to do nothing. It doesn't take taking the other side. It simply takes not doing anything. And the other side prevails. The only thing necessary for the triumph of the evil of abortion, or of this, is for us to do nothing. When we don't do what we can do, evil prevails. And I can't imagine a more evil thing than what we've seen again and again and again. So would you join us today? Be a part of it today. We're excited for the opportunity for you to join us in doing this. Just be a blessing to others. Bless others. We're going to hear from the chairman of the board at the fellowship here in a few minutes. It's Bishop Paul Lanier. Be a part of this. The number again is 800, toll-free, 800-253-8133. 800-253-8133. 800-253-8133. And just stand with us as we stand with Israel. You can do that today, and we invite you to do exactly that. Again, it's 800-253-8133 or online at am630theword.com.
For whatever reason, it seems good to the Lord that I serve as chairman of the board of directors for the fellowship. It is your fellowship, the largest humanitarian effort, social welfare agency in Israel. But I'm convinced it's more effective because it's much more than a humanitarian effort by flesh. Our scriptures say it's not by might nor by power, but it's by the Spirit of the Lord. Almighty God, you are the Lord of us, and we praise you. And we declare that there is none like you in all the world. And time and again, you have been there for your people in that one Israel and that one capital, Jerusalem. And yet again, your people are under siege. I pray as we have prayed, and we fast and we give. As Christians, Jesus spoke of giving and praying and fasting together. And I'm believing, oh God, that yet again, you will allow the servants to walk outside like the servant of Elisha and not be intimidated again by the enemies that seem innumerable, that seem indomitable. You will cause the people of Israel to look and see the angel armies of heaven standing together in the authority and power of Almighty God, and that you will use this time for your own name's sake, that you will bring great success, and you will cause great peace, and you will silence those who sneer, and you will remove those who threaten. You will bind those who are wounded, and secure those who feel so fragile. You will heal those who are wounded, and you will comfort people. Prove yourself, O God, and we give you praise, for you are that one God. You are that one Lord. You are the God of Abraham and Isaac and Jacob. Amen.
That is Bishop Paul Lanier. He is the chairman of the board for the fellowship, and hope you'll join us now in making a difference and say, hey, we're going to be a part of this today. We want to give you the opportunity to stand with Israel and the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews. As we mentioned, your $45 gift to the fellowship right now will help provide Jewish families with food and emergency aid, security, trauma care for children, medicine for the elderly, shelter for displaced families who have fled their homes. We give you the opportunity to do this. It does those things, and it does so much more when you simply pick up the phone and call right now. 800-253-8133, or go online to am630theword.com. Mentioned before that those of us who remember the big major world events, we often say, where were you when? Where were you when this happened? Where were you on 9/11? Where were you on the JFK assassination? Where were you? Well, you can pick those, or several of those that have happened probably in your lifetime. And one of those things, certainly for the state of Israel, is what happened on October the 7th, 2023. Everything changed at that time. You can join us today in standing with Israel. It is the right thing to do. It is ours to do. It is a commandment. God does not just simply suggest it in Genesis 12:3, but we'll be blessed. And we know you don't do it for that reason. We know that's not the reason why you do it, but I'm convinced that those who do stand with Israel will be blessed. So I know that, again, I know that's not your motivation, but it is nice to know that God's word is true. His promises are true. And when he says something, he means it. We have the opportunity to be his hands and feet today to Jews who are suffering tremendously in Israel. So this is what, for over 40 years, the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews have done. Done this for all this time, for all these years. In fact, it is the largest humanitarian ministry, organization that is working in Israel. The largest. Standing for people that have been impacted by all that we've talked about today. So gratitude. As our buddy, the late, great Zig Ziglar used to talk about, want to have an attitude of gratitude. Maybe you have an attitude of gratitude today. And you say, gosh, as I think about that, that could be me. That could be my family. That could be my kids, my grandkids. I don't know why. God had me born here. Listen, you've been wondering if you're blessed. You're blessed. If you're listening right now, you're blessed. I mean, because of who you are and whose you are and where you are. I would even argue when you are blessed. You have to wonder about whether you're blessed. You're blessed. Now the question is, for what purpose are we blessed? For what purpose? Bless. To be a blessing to others. That's why God blesses us, is not just because he loves us. It's because he trusts us to let that blessing not flow only to us, but to let it flow through us. And you have a chance to do that today. So we're excited about it. We don't want you to pass it up. We have just a couple of days to make a difference and stand for Israel. You've been hearing nobody else do it. You've seen it on some of the Facebooks and all the things, the socials. Not just what will you feel? What will you be outraged by? It's not enough to curse the darkness. You have to be the light. Let your light so shine before men that the world will see your good deeds and give glory to your Father who is in heaven. What a promise that is, that if you will do this, it will make a difference for time and for eternity. So join us now. Again, the number is 800. It's a toll-free number, so you call this number, would you, right now? 800-253-8133. 800-253-8133. Right now. Don't put it off. Don't put it off. Click on the IFCJ banner, that red bar at the top of the page at am630theword.com. Thank you for being here. Don't put this off. Don't miss the blessing. I'm Scott Wilder. You're listening to AM 630, The Word.